Anyone else? And we haven't seen our special guest yet. Hopefully he'll be here shortly. But Al kind of stole his thunder. So Jesse Young is supposed to stop in here a little later this evening. Yeah, as most of you know, the legislative session is over. Thank you, Lord. Finally. They didn't do, well, they did plenty of damage as it were, but they could have done a lot more. And fortunately, a lot of people pushed back. A lot of folks got involved. I can't thank enough people like Barbara Green with her email list that went out that made it real easy. Joy Dreswald is with Conservative Ladies of Washington, Julie Barrett's group, and they've also done a great job keeping people informed and trying to make it easy for you to participate and let your voice be heard. There were some bad things that were passed that there'll be some lawsuits immediately. One of the things that did pass that I watched and tried to testify on was they passed a law that the governor, if he hasn't already, will sign that will kill 98% of the gun shops or FFLs in the state of Washington. 98% at a minimum. Because most FFLs, a lot of folks don't realize, most federal firearms license holders are actually home businesses. The overwhelming majority. Gunsmiths, people that have an FFL for helping to buy guns for friends, that sort of thing. But again, all legitimate, all with paperwork and all the rest of that. The computer storage system alone that any shop would have to put in has been estimated to cost somewhere between $100,000 to $250,000 for the server to store all the video that you have to do. Every FFL holder will have to have a camera on every interior door or window, as well as every exterior door or window. And the frame rate and the quality of the recording and all the rest of it. The lawsuits will begin, I'm sure, very soon. But again, that was one small piece that I personally tried to follow. We have a legislature that is out of control. And that's why we need to put people like Jesse Young back into those positions and others. As Rick brought out, and it's here in my notes, we have to get people to fill these seats. We cannot continue to go like we have, where they're uncontested races. I heard today we may have somebody to run in one of the 23rd LD seats, but nobody's willing to share a name, and until it materializes.
I'll share it. Yeah, Jamie Miles.
Jamie Mile.
Yes.
Now, they're running for representative or senator?
And the 23rd, whatever. Yeah, legislative.
Okay.
She's very good. She's a true.
Okay.
Both of those are still, but they do need to fill in the slot for the senator position.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I know that it sounds like in the 26th is going to be a bit of a battle. There are 2 representative seats going. As far as I understand at this point, Michelle Caldier is not facing any Republican challengers. Jesse will be running, but I understand that, again, they're trying to stand somebody up against him. Hopefully he'll be here in a little bit and kind of explain what's going on. And speaking of, you betcha. Come on up, Jesse. Why not? Let's. So before we get into the rest of what we're going, I'll just go ahead and I'd like to introduce to you someone who is a friend, not just personally, but to every one of you. If you love the Constitution, if you love your country, this man is a friend to you. Jesse Young, your next representative again for the 26th legislature.
Oh, you know what? You guys are really awesome. I have never prepared myself for the type of introductions I've gotten in the past couple days. I announced on Saturday at the Pierce County Convention, and they were having a lot of, infighting with all the semi, and actually I saw you on the way out. You didn't know that. I saw you on the way out when you were on the corner as I pulled out. There's a lot of infighting going on with semi and the Riker stuff, but I walked in there and there was all this chaos, and I was deathly sick with the stomach flu, and which is why I'm here tonight, because my wife got sick with it, so we're not at our church event tonight. And before I could get off, I had my whole speech prepared for what I was going to say, and they started chanting Jesse, Jesse, and I've never experienced that before. So, and I appreciate the. Oh, thank you very much. You don't know what that feels like coming from my position, because I can tell you that when I took the L on that last election, I took it kind of hard. It took a little bit of time to accept when you fought like the way I have throughout my life and in my political career, and you all know what the fight's like when the establishment doesn't want to support you. When you put that level of effort into it and then you don't get the result that you anticipated, it was really hard. And but then you start to experience what life is like without the title. I had prepared myself in many ways for what life was going to be like without the title. I knew that I was probably going to get less than 5 calls from any of the lobbyist friends I had ever made while I was down there, and that was right, I only got 2 after the fact. I didn't expect some of the groups of people that had walked a lot of miles with me to kind of treat me the way that I got treated. And you'd be surprised at some of the people, they probably sat in this room with you before. It was amazing. You lose the title and all of a sudden people forget about it. So as a contrast to that, hearing that there's a little bit of excitement that maybe you thought I did a good job for you and you'd like to see me do it again, it means a lot. So thank you very, very much. So yeah, I'm back in. I was convinced. I had a number of people that I talked to that were trying to convince me to get back in, and I just said, well, look, I need to know, and I'll propose the same question to you. Look, if we're going to do this, we're going to need to partner with it. I'm not in this to take another L. That's for dang sure. And I'm not in this. We got to do whatever we can. We're 1 vote away from a super minority. They lose that, and I kind of got the itch again. I was approached by the group One Washington. Some of you are familiar with it. They're the ones that sued to open the churches back up. It's a bunch of people from the church I attend in Gig Harbor. And then we did the vaccine mandate workshops. Well, we did a major campaign. Maybe some of you saw it in Kitsap. We limited the TV to the 26th district in all of Pierce County, and we swamped the Speaker of the House's district in Tacoma with TV ads that I was the spokesperson for about passing Initiative 2081, which to me is the most important one that we got to protect the Parents' Bill of Rights, or create one and protect parents with their kids. And it kind of reinvigorated me, if I was to be candid. Into this, wanting to carve out a better future for my kids. If any of you remember me from back when I first started, I know you're around, you probably remember that speech. You heard it a lot, that I was stepping out of my corporate arena because I was confident I could protect and make sure that my kids never knew the poverty I grew up in. But what about my grandkids? What about my great-grandkids? So I figured that I could endeavor to maybe offer my skills on your behalf down in the political arena and see if we could carve out a better and brighter future for them. And I worked really hard to do all that, learned a lot of lessons, and then when I get out, the first thing that happens is the guy that replaces me votes for 1461 along with my former seatmate against the entire Republican Party. My former seatmate leaves the Republican Party, drops them into a super minority, gets us killed in the budget, and then you saw, I don't know if you saw the last time, and one of the things I know, when we talked before, you asked me for my perception of what just happened in the past 2 years in Olympia, in the last session. We've always seen bad bills. I've only been in the minority, never known the value of what it would be to lead with the majority and lead with the gavel down in Olympia. But one of the things that was a constant while I was there was that while they always proposed these very constitutionally infringing bills and these very heinous, progressive, socially progressive bills that will try to radically change what America is, they only got 1 or 2 of them every year or every cycle. That was it. Because some of us that get bad reputations for maybe being a hard guy to work with negotiated very hard for you behind the scenes. And we said, look, we'll burn it down. There's a line in the sand that you will not cross. You can get one or two, look, you got the majority, but if you want to leverage that majority to get all of them, then you won't get your budget. You won't get the rules that you want. We will burn it down, and that's why you only see one or two bills ever come out over the past decade. But what happened this time? I had to sit on the sidelines and watch as my former seatmate left the Republican Party, dropped them into a super minority, which means that they have no leveraging. The final leverage point the Republicans have right now is the capital budget, because they have to bond on it. And when you have to bond on budgets, you need a 2/3 majority to pass anything that goes with it. It's the final piece of leverage that we had, and she gave it away for whatever reason, for whatever she got. Who knows what that is. But I can't imagine why she would have done that to us and left the Republican Party. And I watched, and then what did you see? You didn't just see all the heinous bills get proposed. You saw the litany of them just get thrown down our throats. And in the midst of all that, with all the stuff, Washington State is the mecca of child sex trafficking in the world right now. And it only got worse with 1469, which says that you as a parent, if some high school counselor or some affiliated NGO tells your kid or convinces your kid that maybe they shouldn't trust you as their parent to correctly guide them and wants to take them down into another state or take them and hide them because they maybe they're not the gender that they believe that they were born with, or any of that type of crap, then you don't have a right to find them, and the government, including the police, don't have a right to help you. And it's illegal for them to help you. That's the type of stuff that they're passing now. And that's what will continue to pass and only get more egregious if they formally go into a supermajority. So I looked at all that. We prayed about it. My wife and I took a trip to Florida to see what the land of the free was like. And I came back last Monday, and we made the choice to get back in to see if we could put the finger in the dam and try to hold the ground for you. And so I'm happy to do it. Where's Al? Is Al in here? Oh, there you are, back there. Thanks, Al. Did you get up and give me any? So Al's.
I told him about your history, and
Okay.
he's a solid brawler, and that's what we need, guys. We need a guy who will take a stand and protect us.
That's right.
And I've heard Jesse's a lot like me in the past. A great communicator, maybe to a fault. He's just so honest that it offends people. And it's a sad state of affairs where being honest gets you in trouble.
You know who was offensive? All of our founding fathers, because King George thought they were very offensive to him. I'm not there to be nice to them. I'm there to collaborate. Let me tell you something. For as offensive as they said I were, you would be surprised at how many Democrats privately called me and cut deals with me in the back. Especially as I started to buck leadership on the Republican side and run a very independently run office. Because there's a lot of Democrats, for maybe as weak and mealy-mouthed as they are, don't fully buy into the full progressive plan. But they're mandated to from a top-down leadership structure that's very, very tyrannical. And under those lines, I would get calls all the time. Jesse, privately, could you, how do I handle this? They're telling my staff what to do, and I don't want my staff to do that. How do you manage that? These are ways that you can collaborate. And so for as much as the outward picture, and of course it makes sense for the Democrats to run and try to claim, look, come on, man, I grew up homeless. I worked my way up. I paid my way through college. I didn't get any loans deferred or paid off, you know what I mean? Or paid for me. I had to pay all my loans back. And then I worked and washed dishes, bootstrapped myself up by the grace of God, married my high school sweetheart, have honored her ever since, have 6 great kids. One of them's here. Judah, where? There's Judah, my second youngest in the back. And basically, pulled my family, included my extended family, out of poverty and lived the American dream. What's to attack there? Well, if there's nothing to attack, and then I get in, I don't cut deals that compromise my constitutional integrity. I don't take backdoor deals to enrich myself. I've lost a lot of private sector dollars and deferred a lot of money to do this job on your behalf, and I'm willing to do it because I'm trying to bless my kids and your kids. So what else is there to attack? Of course that's what they do. They always attack character. And I don't mind. I love and revel in the fact that I negotiate very hard on your behalf. And if they cry about it, so what? That said, I would love it. if each and every one of you would contribute in a major way to this campaign. The party, if you want a little additional background, the party is broke. Under the new leadership of the Republican Party, they are at historical, and I'm not talking about minorly lows. They are at historic lows in fundraising. It used to be that one of the negotiation things that I would have that always set me off with the former leader, J.T. Wilcox, would be that the Republican caucus would be at about, at this stage in the election cycle, would be at about $2 million raised. And the WSRP would be at about $1.5 million or so. And the Senate caucus would be about the same. I would always argue that's not enough. You're barely meeting historical averages. What you need to do is catch up to the Democrats that are always at about $1.5 million more than that at $3.5 million. Okay? Anybody want to guess where the Republican caucus is right now in terms of funds raised? Take a guess.
Less than $250,000.
It's less than that. Yeah, it's $112,000. The Democrats got over $2 million. That's in the House fund. In the Senate, it's similar. And at the Washington State Republican Party, they're actually in a deficit. They're like $5,000 in the hole right now. Depending upon how their next report, I don't know what magic they're going to do there. I'm sure they're calling donors right now to help them make it up. That's a problem. It's another thing that informed me to get back in because I've, over 10 years without party support, it was like pulling teeth to try to raise the money it took to win this race, and I've been able to find some pretty faithful donors. And then a lot of folks like you have always been trusted volunteers and stuff like that for me. We're going to need to do that again. There will be no party support. And I don't know, did you share who they're trying to fund against me now?
No, go ahead.
Well, yeah, they're trying. What's that?
I only had 2 minutes.
Oh, you only 2? Okay, great. Well, they're trying to pull a lobbyist. They're trying to pull a lobbyist out of the Republican circles. Caldeer is circling this lobbyist around. That's Jim Henderson, yeah. And I'm not going to get on tape telling you more about him because then they'll say I'm trying to besmirch him and use that to hit me up. But go figure him out or let somebody else do it. They'll tell you who they're trying to replace. They don't want me back in real bad. Too bad, because we're going to unite together and we're going to get it done.
Absolutely.
I'm going to announce it's probably going to be April 22nd through the 24th, somewhere in there. If any of you have ever been to my movies and mixers, we're going to announce that. We're going to do a big fundraiser. I think I've shared this with you guys in the past. You've probably heard it before. Tony Stevens used to talk about it a lot, which was the historical average in a state race for a state rep seat is the first candidate to 300 individual donors wins 79% of the time. So my guy has been announced for a few months. He's got like 130 donors. I intend to, by the end of this month, have more money than he's got in the bank. I mean, we're going to be dropping about 20 in tomorrow. And if any of you want to be in the first list of donors, you can donate tonight. If you want to give a couple bucks, I don't care, that's fine. If you want to be in the first list of people that are putting your name to my candidacy. But I would like it for all of you to attend and bring some other people. I want to fill out a 300-seat IMAX theater. We're going to show the new Ghostbusters that's coming out. It's a PG-13. They're good movies. They're anti-woke. If you don't know, the Ghostbusters franchise ran a woke movie like 3 years ago, and it just bombed. Trying to turn it all feminist, and then it bombed, and then they rebooted the whole dang thing, and that last movie was pretty decent. Good family movie. They're doing it again, and they got, Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and those guys back, so it's a family-friendly movie. But I would love to fill that, and I'd love and really ask, if you want to help me, launch me into 300 donors. I could put 300 donors on the ledger in one night next month, so I'd encourage you all to come there. But I do have a question, if you don't mind me asking. What would be the minimum rate I could charge to make sure that I wouldn't price you out of it? Because they're getting expensive. The most we've ever charged, I think, was $30, and right now we want to stretch it to either 50 to 100. But what you get, if you don't know, is you get a full meal. Barbecue to You, one of the best barbecue shops in on the West Coast, is going to sponsor. You're going to get a full barbecue dinner. You're going to get the full movie, and you'll probably get popcorn and drinks too. So the question is, would that price you out if I charged it 100? Or I'm doing a sample poll here. You guys are the first ones I'm asking. Or should I drop it down to 50? Or is that too high to get you guys to come to try to donate to the campaign and put money in? What do you think?
Hey Jesse,
Yeah.
I'm with you 100%.
Thank you.
I've been noticing that in the last 15 years that people like us,
Yeah.
we need to reach into our wallet, man. We need contribute to the cause, damn it. You know, Democrats are good at just throwing money at everything,
Yeah.
but we don't want to separate. There's people that don't, and money, you need money to run a campaign. So I'm with you. $100, that's nothing.
You think $100?
Yeah, where's it at?
How many, I don't want to put you on the spot, but how many of you think 50 is better? Okay, I got a couple of hands there because I don't want to price you out. What is, understand,
If it's 50, I can bring more guests.
if you bring more guests?
I'll pay 100 for my.
Would you do me a favor? When we're done, I don't want to put anybody on the spot. I'm seeing faces that not all of you can see. I certainly want the $100. It would be better, but let me tell you a little bit of strategy here. Do you mind? I know you tape everything, but if I want to tell some strategy, you mind turning some of that off? You okay with that, Dana?
I think so.
22nd to 25th, somewhere in there. April. Just what did I say?
They're at the Galaxy Theater?
No, it's the week after the state convention. So whatever week in April immediately follows the state convention, that's the week we're shooting for.
Convention's on the 18th. Yeah, 18th through 20th is the convention.
Okay, so yeah, I think Monday's the 22nd. So it's either, I'm waiting for them to tell me, 22nd, 23rd, 24th.
Where is it?
It's at the IMAX theater, it's gonna be at the IMAX theater in Big Harbor. That's what we're gonna do. Certainly we'll get all the details out to you guys, but what I'm hoping is that it's not just you, but you bring a bunch of folks.
Awesome.
Al's probably got a list over there, everybody go to Al, you can get your name on the list with Al, and Al's my DC.
I will get it to him.
He's my ground game coordinator, and he's gonna take one with all that.
Great to see you. Great to see you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jesse. That's some of the best news that I've had in such a long time. Folks, and that's what we have to see. We have to see people that are willing to get up and get involved. As Jesse said, and something that we've talked about in this group some time ago is to be able to provide somewhat of a clearinghouse, that when we need bodies on hand, that we have people that are there. One of the things that we really do lack is representation in even things like the county commissioners' halls. How many have been to a county commissioners meeting in the last month? There were too many times that for about 2 years, we were at every Monday night's county commissioner meetings, and it was amazing how few folks got involved to find out what's going on. And now we have a CRT hire at Kitsap County, and we have 3 exceptionally left-wing county commissioners. We have the opportunity this year to replace 2 of them. 2 of the 3, can you imagine? And folks, it can happen. It can happen. So just be aware and be looking for these things and get folks involved as you can. A couple things I wanted to bring up. As I told someone here not too long ago, what did they think that we were playing tiddlywinks whenever, we're getting in and seeing a really knockdown drag out happen with the governor's race right now. Something Pierce County pulled that I'm still trying to exactly figure out how in the world they could even think that it was halfway acceptable, was that they banned Semi Bird from even having a table at their county convention. He couldn't, in fact, they gave him back his money, sent him back his money after he had already paid to have a table there. And they, as far as I understand, they said, well, it's because we already endorsed Reichert.
Election interference.
It shouldn't matter. Even if they have pre-endorsed somebody, they should still allow legitimate Republican candidates to attend the Republican convention. And there were a lot of Bird supporters going past us as we were out there waving signs, and where the Reichert guy had their sign, they were 4 signs tall, so ours went 5 signs tall, and but it was a good time. Al and a number of others were there, and it was a lot of fun. But something that, as people have talked about, and I personally have had the opportunity to confront Reichert to a small degree, and he is not a very good candidate. He's not. He has a good look. He's somewhat nice to folks as a general rule, although he had to apologize to me for because he has a short fuse, and he got real upset with me asking a question. He had wrote an op-ed piece early on in the COVID issue and was praising Jay Inslee and his handling of the masking and the distancing and all of that. And he tried to tell the KCRP here recently, well, that's only because it was really early on, and that's the only reason that we wrote that op-ed. He said that you shouldn't disobey the government, you should do what they're telling you to do, and on and on. So I asked him where was his op-ed after 2 years down the road when Jay Inslee had taken all of this dictatorial power. And he said he couldn't understand the question, which my reply was, well, that doesn't surprise me. And so we got in a little bit of a staring contest, which he apologized for later. Here's the way I look at it. And I take nothing away from those things that Reichert has done throughout his life to help serve his community. But if you had a contractual relationship with someone, whether it be a marriage or otherwise, and your partner said, I want to violate the terms of that agreement 60% of the time. Is that acceptable in any relationship that you can imagine? No. And yet we have the record, David Reichert, 60% of the time voted outside of constitutional restraints, even though he said he took an oath to uphold the Constitution. I'm sorry, folks, that just doesn't work. To me, a vote for Reichert is a vote for Bob Ferguson. Semi Bird is someone that, as I've gotten to know him, and they started throwing these rumors and things around, I looked into all those rumors. In fact, I told a few people, well, did you happen to call Semi and actually ask him? He's not a hard guy to reach, and ask him about it? Well, yeah, no, I didn't think so. But I looked at courtroom documents. I looked at all sorts of documentation outside of what Semi provided me, although what he provided me was golden stuff as well. And I can tell you now, I have far more respect for Semi for the way that he handled those issues than before they were even brought to my attention. Folks, we have an opportunity like never before to put some people into office that really can make a difference and stand firm. Jesse's one of them. At the governor's level, it is Semi Bird without question. At the Attorney General level, and we have some flyers back here and on this table up front for Pete Serrano, who is running for Attorney General. Pete Serrano is very involved with the Silent Majority Foundation. I recommend that you look them up and see what they're involved in. I do believe, for at least a short period of time, we're about to see a court decision that makes the magazine capacity ban go away. I really think we're going to see that. Of course, they'll want to overturn it real quick, knowing our state Supreme Court. But, again, involvement is what's key. As Jesse said, there's time. Honestly, folks, I want to put that gate on the front of my place. I want to spend time in my greenhouse, in my garden, and just tell the rest of the world to just have at it. You know, go do your thing, let it all go, because we're so blessed in this country. But when I see what they're doing in Olympia and all these places, and I look at my grandkids, and I look at several of you, I have no choice. We have to push forward. We have to push for things that are true and right and just, and that's why Kitsap, what was the Kitsap Patriots Tea Party is now the Puget Sound Patriots, formed, was to see to it that we can put conservative candidates into office. And what are we trying to conserve if we're not trying to conserve the Constitution and through the meaning of our founding fathers? Of course, you met Jeremy. I think we'll get through that, and we'll get on. I've got a relatively short movie. This is an hour long, but it is worth it. Folks, how many are aware that we have an illegal immigration problem in this country? Anybody happen to know that? If you look up, if you haven't already, if you will look up USA Today, Port Orchard gang problems. And there's our wonderful chief of police over there at City of Port Orchard talking to them about how we have had gangs from some of the cartels come up here and set up shop in Kitsap County and Port Orchard directly, which is usually what they do, and then reach out into the big cities and those things. We heard about Tyson Foods, which doesn't surprise me. If people looked into Tyson Foods and their connection to the Clinton administration, that by itself would turn your stomach for anything Tyson that's supposed to be edible. So there are so many things that are happening. It is a concerted, concentrated effort to destroy our way of life in our country. The Bar Association has gone far afield from where they should have been. Far afield. I've had a prosecutor tell me in court that the Constitution doesn't matter anymore. That's a quote. And for many folks, they don't realize how we've given up our rights as we've gone all along as we have. And some of those people actually do believe that. We have, and I have watched it, we have illegal aliens coming in through Canadian border. We have them off of the Washington coast that come in. How many have seen the skiffs and the speedboats up the California coast that pull in and people jump out of them like you've seen maybe jump out of cars and trucks and vans and go to waiting vehicles on the side of the road? And we also have some confirmed intel that Swift Air is actually going into Central America, loading up with illegal aliens and bypassing the border and just coming right into the country to drop them off at some of these processing centers. Folks, it is treason. And it is happening at a level I honestly don't know exactly what to do. I mean, I was always taught when you have a problem like that, you cut the head off the snake. The problem is we're fighting a Medusa. It's just hard to tell what's what. So ultimately, I have to, as we get ready to show this, I want to just put out there that the people that are coming into this country, many of them have absolutely no connection to the same beliefs that many of us have had, the foundations of this country, the value system that made this country great. Watching how they're robbing people as they've moved in and then are beating up police in New York and then they get kicked out of court that day with no bail. And what things did make our country, what was that? I'm sorry. Absolutely. Yeah, walking out of the courtroom, flipping his fingers in the air, after participating in beating up law enforcement. And what are those things, what are those beliefs that made our country great? The answer is we were a people that as we could, we knew that there were two things, as Christ told us, that are more important than anything else, and that was to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. We had a commitment to recognizing the creator of this country, of this state. Who can tell me where God is mentioned in the Constitution? In the year of the Lord. Anno Domini. State Constitution was signed the same way. Who is that, folks? Our own state constitution starts with its preamble, which is a part of the Constitution. We, the people of the state of Washington, grateful to the supreme ruler of this universe, do ordain this Constitution. We have to get back to first and foremost loving our Creator, acknowledging Him for who He is, and then serving our fellow man. That's what built this country. And that's what we have to get back to. Again, this is put out by Epic Times, and it is called, if I recall right, Gotaways. And if this doesn't, I'll just let it do its own talking.
You can safely.
I was born in San Diego and raised right next to the border. Spent a lot of time in Baja, loved it down there, some great people. And I personally do not begrudge anybody the desire to come to our country to better themselves. Not a single one of them. But the people that are doing it in the way that they're doing it, bypassing the front door and bringing them in, is just wrong on so many levels, and it has got to stop. If you haven't done it, I can't, they don't know what to do especially if we don't tell our representatives what we expect of them. Unfortunately, too many times you'll get some little, some platitude from them, and the Democrats blame the Republicans, and the Republicans blame the Democrats, and the reality is nothing seems to get done. What we're seeing, without question in my mind, is treason on a level that's unbelievable. I have friends that are Border Patrol agents, and I have been told by them that their job is not to stop people or on the border. Their whole job right now is to process people into our country. That's what they're doing. And these large camps that they're building and moving these people in, it won't take long for them to turn those camps around so that they're used on others, while they are, in many cases, changing local laws to allow illegal immigrants to act as law enforcement officers. They've been doing it in New York and other places. Folks, we are under attack like never before. This is a fairly mild documentary compared to what's really going on out there. And the only way that I see us being able to stop it is by putting people of conviction in office that will stand up as they should be. We were seeing that, I think, with President Trump. You know, he had a nice little talk with the Mexican president. He said, no, you're going to hold them over there, because if you don't, we're going to pull some of our money. It's amazing how they may not like the politics of conservative America, but they don't mind our money at all, and they will protect it otherwise. So when you look at that, CNJC is considered a super cartel out of Mexico. And that is the cartel that has set up meth operations in Port Orchard and in that area. We're seeing MS-13 and have been seeing them for a while. Again, until we have people that hold those offices that will honor their oath to the Constitution, it's just going to get worse. You know, the Lord provided salvation for people that will accept it. I mean, He brought us good news. But there is, and that good news is to be had by all. But if we don't get a handle and put people in these positions, we are just done for as a people. God judges nations in the instant moment. And while we're sitting here watching what's going on and enjoying our football games and our baseball games, it does remind me of Nebuchadnezzar's son, who was sitting around partying when the words were wrote on the wall that, was it Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin, that you have been weighed and found wanting. And even though he got the answer he wanted to have, his life and his nation's life was over that night. It can happen that fast. We have banks that are collapsing. We have things that are happening all around us that we need to start taking some steps for. I can't encourage you enough if you don't already. Most of the people here probably realize it, but how is your water supply? How is your food supply? I'd start getting some of that stuff all the more ready, because you may be able to take care of yourself, but you're good chance you're going to have to take care of others in the process. So as you arm yourself with information, talk to people and find out how much they know about what's going on, and then let them know about people that have a plan to try and stem the tide of what we're seeing. We're seeing some people in Texas now actually going down, citizens going down and stringing concertina wire and plugging certain parts of the border. The Border Patrol foot agents, most of them, they love it. They love to see that those things happen. But right now, as we see, what's this one kid, he had an attorney on retainer? I mean, because he's getting $3,000 a body to transport them into the country. And while some folks may really love Governor Abbott, what is he actually accomplishing down there? Do you realize that Governor Abbott is transporting these people into the middle of our country? That's not helping to keep them out. You know, now at first, when I first heard about that, and was it Ron DeSantis did it too, and it was like, yeah, give them a taste of their action. Send them to New York, send them to DC. Problem is, that's still sending them into the middle of our country. And these are people that have decided not to go through the front door. So anyway, if I can encourage you to do anything, it would be to be active, be at peace in knowing that, you know, regardless of what we see, don't lose sight of what you have in front of you today and tomorrow. You have time with your family, with your friends, with those that you know that you love or that you can encourage. Take those opportunities. Don't miss it because of some of the things that we see here. But at the same time, if you can, sit down and write a letter to your senator, to your congressman, and ask and demand an answer. I found out today that I'm on Patty Murray. I get a personal text message from Patty Murray today. Yeah, she wants me to jump on the bandwagon for Emily Randall, so that we could have our very first congressional district person who is LGBTQ and Latina.
I just know you're gonna do that.
That's their qualification, and yet that's the thing they lead with. That's what she's qualified for, or because. So anyway, get behind those that are running. There's not going to be any perfect candidate out there. In the 6th Congressional, I think we have Drew McEwen that's running out there. You know, Drew's a decent guy. I wish he would take a hard line on the Constitution. I really wish he would. Maybe he's trainable. We'll see. But anything can be better than what we're seeing in some of these races. We needed 2 candidates to run for county commissioner. We need candidates for the city council races and others. Don't think in terms of, well, gee, I just don't know, I can't do this. You know, it's a lot of work. It is a bit of work. But as Rick said, and I'll stand with him and stand with anybody else that wants to run for office, there's a lot of folks that will get behind you and help you. If you know people that will be willing to run. We cannot lose to left extremists because the race is uncontested. I can't imagine that. Anyway, folks, I appreciate you coming tonight. I realize that it was a little unorthodox the way that it went through. But anybody learn anything or see anything new off of that Epic Times video? It's worse than what you see here. It is far worse than that. And it's they're looking now to path to citizenship. You know, what can we do? You know, we'll make them a soldier and then let them vote. Others asking, you know, what can I do to vote? I've seen interviews where they've interviewed illegal aliens and said, you know, so now that you're in America, are you going to vote? Oh, yeah. And who are you going to vote for? Joe Biden. You know, Joe Biden is for us, you know. That's where a lot of this is leading and has led to. So folks, I appreciate the fact that you're here, that you're willing to give of your time to get involved, to get armed with information, and see what we do about going forward to make some things different than they have been. The only way we're going to be able to ultimately do it is to overwhelm them at the polls. I personally do not trust the way that our system works, even with people like Chuck and others that get to check certain issues. There are certain things that we can't see. And I've told people before, I went to our county auditor directly, my wife and I did, and said, my mom has never lived with me. She hasn't lived in the state for over 30 years, and yet I'm getting a ballot every election for her. And he said, we'll take care of that. We walked over to a desk, he got his number one person, they went, not a problem. And guess what? To this day, I still get a ballot for her every single time. Is it because of the demographic she's in? Maybe so. Anyway, I can't do what other folks do or what the Democrats do, but it can be tempting to think, well, hey, Mom, just sign this thing and turn it in. But that's not how it needs to be done. We can do this the right way. Again, I appreciate y'all coming. Anything for the good of the order. Again,
Jesse Young's running for office.
that was great news. I'd been after him for a long time, and finally Al got through to him.
You still can vote on,
So you want to hear a funny story on that?
What's that?
You want to hear a funny story on that?
Quickly, sure.
So about 6 weeks ago, I took him to lunch and I said, Jesse, we're hurting, we really need you. And we're enjoying lunch. In the middle of lunch, he looks at me and goes, so Al, who put you up to this? I looked at him and said, I did. I'm desperate.
We need people. Jesse, he has learned a lot, but he has been someone you can just rely on. And that's what we need in office. People don't want to have to babysit their legislators. This last legislative session, you know how much time, how many hours I wasted feeling like I have to I have to testify on these bills in Olympia because they're not listening to me. I want to put it on the record. And then sit there for 2 to 3 hours, listen to everything, and then not get called. I mean, it is maddening. Joyce, you had something? Or?
Oh, I was just gonna say, we used to drive down to Olympia and not get called. So, yeah, it's a kind of a customary thing.
Right. Well, at least in my particular case, I had my suit and tie on, and I had my very best sweatpants on too. So, doing it Zoom.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people that take that time, and we used to do the same. Drive down to testify, and it can be disheartening. But we do have an opportunity. I won't give up on Washington State. I will not give up on Washington State. We can turn this around. And we put somebody like Semi Bird as governor, and Pete Serrano as AG. We fill a couple of county commissioner seats. Folks, I'm telling you what, we can get somewhere very, very quickly. So again, I appreciate your involvement, and would just ask the Lord to bless each of you in this coming week. Don't lose track of tomorrow and the instant moment. Even with all the issues we've seen, honor him with what you do. Love him, love your neighbor, and I'm telling you what, it will work out. So, again, thank you all for coming tonight.